you recall, the last 4 general elections have clearly demonstrated sophistication of Edo people. In the last 4 general elections, the PDP won the general elections. Whereas in the last 4 local elections, APC won the local elections. So the people know what they want and they know where to pitch their tent politically. Because I believe, like the Latin will say, vox populi, vox Dei, that the voice of the people is the voice of God. Our actions, programs, and policies will continue to be determined and directed by the wishes of our people. The PDP massive mobilization machine will take our message to every voter and even non-voters like you in every household, every political unit, ward, and local government, and across the media mix in our various languages and in Pidgin and English. Our message is one of hope and one of the future. Our motto is Edo State, one people, one dream, one heritage. Our mission is to make Edo great again, better. And our vision is that before the year 2050, 30 years' time, Edo will be the best state to live and to prosper in Nigeria. My principal responsibility is to cater to the people who voted me into office. Therefore, we will provide bold, audacious, responsible, and courageous leadership consisting of thinking through our robust policies before acting. We will deal with integrity, sustainability, and the very best interest of our people all the time. We will continue to prioritize public purpose, develop broad-based common goods, which should take precedence over crude private gains and tendencies. We will cater for current and present needs of our people, while also taking a long-term view of a brighter future, because tomorrow must come. During my first time, I placed emphasis on education through Edo Best. We will now continue with our educational reforms and extend the reforms to the other tiers of the educational system. They will now cascade the reforms to all other levels: junior secondary schools, senior secondary schools, and technical schools, and our other institutions of higher learning. We, in my second term, will prioritize healthcare, because one of the lessons of COVID-19 is that we were all hit by a global pandemic, which made it difficult or impossible for people to travel for care outside of home. And the lesson from that experience is that we must fix our own healthcare system. And thank God, it's what we've done in the last 4 months or so. We've laid the basis for a transformed healthcare system in Edo State. A blueprint containing all our plans will be captured in a detailed and integrated roadmap for the future of Edo State, which is the Edo 30-year development plan. That is in the works as we speak. The third pillar is that government must now be restructured to be an enabler. We want to move from an era where government competes with its citizens. Government's role should be to enable its citizens to realize their ambitions and realize their hopes. So we are restructuring government to support and digitally enable and enhance a conducive business environment and support people in their enterprises and their endeavor. Government will now begin to think like a partner and promote public-private partnerships and move away from the mindset that there is nothing wrong for government to support its citizens to be wealthy, to create wealth. They would never overcome government. Therefore, we will continue to consolidate and enhance state signature initiatives, which we have started, by using state systems, policies, and institutions to help create jobs for our people, strengthening Edo jobs. We will continue to invest in creative hubs for our young people to have avenues that will reduce their cost of entering into businesses. We will continue to develop mechanisms to ensure that our citizens have easy access to cheap funding for their businesses. The fourth pillar will be based on technology and data-driven governance. As you know, the whole world is moving into a digital platform. We have commenced the digital revolution of Edo State. We are proud to say that as of today, Benin City is the most digitally connected city in Nigeria, having successfully laid over 400 kilometers of fiber across the city. Once we energize the city with electricity, we believe that we will be very, very competitive in providing technology, services, and using the infrastructure we have created to make Edo State a technology hub. Fifth pillar will be for us to now think bold and big about our economy. Yes, today the economic space is dominated by small businesses, but we have come to the realization that the greatness of Edo is not in only its hydrocarbon assets, oil and gas. Its greatness is based on its land. Therefore, we will be working much harder than we have in the last 4 years to make Edo State the agri-business hub of Nigeria, ensuring that we have food sufficiency for consumption and also as industrial raw materials. Our strategy will be to grow local production and consumption. The available gas in Edo State, particularly around the local axis, will be used to generate more electricity. We've done another electricity transaction on the back of the Azura plant, the Osiomo generating plant, which is 55 megawatts, which will be expanded to about 200 megawatts. That will be connected in the next fortnight. And with initiatives like this, we believe that with the availability of electricity, we will be able to drive industrialization and make Edo very competitive factories and production industries to locate. More businesses will be grown from being informal ones to growing to become formal big businesses. Edo should and will become one of the top destinations for businesses, not only in the South-South region, but our aspiration is to be one of the top 3 states for business in Nigeria within the planned period. Our master plan will be to evolve private businesses and to evolve Edo from being a civil service-dominated economy to one where thriving businesses, particularly small and medium enterprises, thrive. The last pillar will be to ensure that we build the physical and digital infrastructure while we are sustaining our environment. We have reformed our land administration by introducing GIS, but that's not enough. Land use and land management will continue to be emphasized while we expand the GIS to cover all areas, because we cannot plan for 30 years without adequate data and information. And information as our physical space will be obtained from the existing investments we are making. We are a national transportation hub, and therefore traffic management and transportation management in our master plan will be emphasized. The whole country passes through Edo, so we need to make transportation system a lot more efficient. Not only the road networks, but we must be thinking of investing in rail networks and making sure that Edo is a hub. We have to decongest our city centers. We have to create more cities. We have to reduce the impact of rapid urbanizations, where over 50% of our population live in 2 cities in the state. We must ensure that while we are undertaking economic activities, we respect our environment. We have to reverse the rapid deforestation which has now taken over our state. We have started, we have legislated these lands, and next 4 years we will be attracting investment to try and regrow our forests and respect our environment for the sake of the next generation. What we have done in the last 4 years is to establish a track record to focus on what is necessary, what is important for our people. We must have a responsible government, without which we cannot discharge our functions. We have paid salaries promptly and pensions, and we have paid our contractors to be on site, to keep working on our projects. And we believe that with the mega manifesto which we're revealing, the next 4 years will lay a solid foundation for Edo of the next generation. The next 4 years, in the next 4 years, we would have laid the basis, all the elements which I, as a governor, missed. I came into government and there was no plan, there was no roadmap. One of the legacies I hope to leave by the time I finish my second term is that there will be a clear roadmap, a clear direction, a clear compass as to where Edo will be headed and how Edo will get to where we expect it to be by the year 2050. I want to thank you for listening, and I hope we'll have lively discussion thereafter. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We'll be going straight to our panelists because they do have questions for you. And our first panelist coming on board is Mrs. Adesua Obaseki. Has a question.
Can you unmute yourself, Mr. Obaseki? Just 1 second.
So you can unmute yourself.
Yes, you can unmute yourself, Mr. Adesua. We can't hear you.
That's it.
Okay. Good evening, His Excellency, and thank you for being with us this evening. Thank you for all you have been doing for the state. Our first question is, with the recent events, many are expressing fear the coming elections will be marred by violence. As the chief security officer of the state, what measures are you and your team putting in place to instill confidence in the electorate and make them feel to exercise their franchise? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. It is really unfortunate what has happened, the occurrences of the last
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
The occurrences of the last few weeks have been really unfortunate. It addresses the core issues that we've been trying to deal with in Edo State, which is how do we eliminate thuggery and hooliganism from our streets. As you would have heard, the thugs are now in high demand. Those who do not have programs to sell to the people believe that they could use intimidation and propaganda and lies to change the course of what will happen. But as you know, that will not be possible. As a chief security officer of the state and also a contestant, I've been trying to strike a careful balance. We have the instrument of states. We've spoken to the various law enforcement agencies. And because I am also a contestant, I don't want to be accused of using undue political state power to oppress and intimidate the fellow contestants. But we have sent out sufficient warnings that this level of hooliganism and vandalism must stop. It is not proper good conduct for you to send out thugs to tear up the banners and posters of your opponents. It is very bad political behavior when you begin to smash cars of the cars that contain stickers of your opponents. We have decided as government to act responsibly and to also respect human rights. However, the instruments of states exist. We have restructured the security architecture of Edo State, right from the wards where we have public work volunteers and vigilantes, through to the local governments where you have police divisional officers. By the way, we've introduced community policing, and up to the state level where we have not only police, but we have the Directorate of State Security and even the military. If we have to deploy these instruments of state to maintain law and order, we will do so. And the courts, back in session, will come back in session. We have been reluctant to try and get more convictions because of COVID-19. We've been trying to decongest the prisons. But if we have to maintain law and order, then we'll have to do what we need to do as a government.
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Excellency. That's quite incisive. We're going to go straight to the next member of the panel, and the next person to come on board actually is Comrade Bobby Obayuwana. Please, could you unmute yourself? And I want to quickly state this just before Comrade Bobby comes on, that please, if you know you are in this room and you are on with two devices, please put one off, because it's interfering with the flow of the meeting. Comrade, please. Comrade Obayuwana.
Good evening, Your Excellency. Good evening, House. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Good evening, Your Excellency. Good evening, House. First of all, I want to appreciate the opportunity given to me to represent the youth and the good people of Edo State. Just a quick one, Your Excellency. I have two questions here. And the first one is, Your Excellency, sir, to your full knowledge of the Not Too Young to Run Act that has been endorsed by both President Muhammadu Buhari .
He may be having issues with his network. Mr. Obayuwana, can you still hear us?
Yeah, maybe we should take on your next question. We'll take him later when he's
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We just go straight to the next panelist on board, and this next panelist is Ambassador Matthew Biki Uwaifo. Please, can we unmute him? Ambassador Matthew Biki Uwaifo. Can you hear me, sir? Ambassador Matthew Biki Uwaifo, can you hear me? Please, backroom staff, can we locate him and unmute him in case?
Yes, he's on. Mr. Uwaifo, can you hear you?
Okay, great.
Yes, I can hear you. Yes. Yes, thank you. Good evening, Your Excellency. All the way from Tanzania. It's with great joy to have you on this program. And just to say thank you for the excellent job you have done to make all Edulites proud worldwide. Now, my question is this. The election coming up September 19, 2020, we know already, and we have the firm faith emanating from our God that He will win that election. So my question is this. What measures are you putting in place when the result is declared and the opposition decide to go into a lot of bloodletting of innocent Edulites? What measures are you putting in place to make sure that stability takes place? That is my first question. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Yeah, it's of concern to us that in their desperation, people will throw all caution to the wind and, resort to all sorts of, barbaric reactions. But our belief, our faith is that we are clearly in a majority. We are not going to win the elections marginally. We are going to win landslide because the feedback, the polls, the reaction on the street show that what we are doing is what Edo people want. So I don't see how the minority can physically overturn the wishes of the majority and also subdue the majority physically. Edo people are bold. Edo people are not cowards. We know them, we live with them, and we just hope and pray that they don't get to that extent. Because should they do, it will be really sad, but they will pay. They will pay. Like you've seen all over the continent. Those who would resort to bloodletting of innocent persons will pay dearly. Because the international community is being called upon to come and observe the election, and I expect all of you all over the world to also raise that cry that the federal government must ensure that it secures the lives, properties, and the votes of the people of Edo State.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Isoke, please, can you come on board?
Yes. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I'm going straight on now to the next panelist, and that's High Chief Musa Ahmed, all the way from the UK.
Please, backroom staff, can we locate him and unmute him if he's muted?
Musa Ahmed, please unmute yourself.
Can you unmute yourself, Musa?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
First, I want to say congratulations to the organizers of this program. I'm happy I'm part of what is great for the people. To you, the governor, you are doing great. I'm happy. I don't want to expose me as a person who knows you, but I'm happy you're doing something great. But there's one question. You must also give me the permission to speak as an Ishaman. Why so? Because we are suffering in a way. And that's why this presence of interest to me and the Asian people and Edo in general. It has to do with security. Question. The Hausa Fulani encroachment issue is on the increase. And in recent times, there are claims of people still being attacked at a higher level. And at the same time, the side effect of this is that the destruction of our farm produce made it impossible for our farmers to go to the farm and continue their farming activities. My question, therefore, Your Excellency, is this.
How is your government addressing this territorial infringement in Edo State as we speak? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me try and dimension the crisis as it relates to headsmen and banditry. What we have noticed that because there are two issues here. There's an issue of people looking for grazing land, and it's been over the last century or centuries. You've had people come during the dry season, graze and take their cattle back. Because of environmental pressures, we're seeing much more desperation and increase. We also witnessing a situation where there's also pressure on our own land because of increasing population. So areas people never used to go and farm in the past, they now go into those areas to farm, and some of those areas are along those grazing paths which existed even before we were born, and that is leading to conflicts. Those conflicts there's always been mechanisms to resolve them. So not every house of Fulani who brings earth here is a bandit. In fact, what is interesting is that most of our, quite a lot of our people invest in this cattle and employ some of them to help them to graze the cattle for fattening. The second issue, so those issues are perennial and they are being resolved because traditionally when the real headsmen come in, they normally go to the community leader or the traditional chief before they even they're allowed into those communities. There's a second issue which is more serious, which is that of banditry. Because of all the crises from the north, from the Sahel, you now find young men in the name of being headsmen carrying AK-47s and very sophisticated equipment with which they come in to kidnap, to maim, and to create instability in our parts of the country. It's a challenge nationwide, and we are trying to respond as best we can. And the response we have adopted is to try and organize our people at the local level, organize the vigilantes, organize the hunters. I am investing in a new corps of forest rangers who can go into the forest and give us information. Key to crime is intelligence. So as a state, we have put in place a system where we can collect information and intelligence based on which we can now respond. As a state governor, I don't have an army. I don't have a police of my own. I don't, even the security agencies and outfits I've created cannot bear arms. So what we are doing, our response is to get enough intelligence, get enough information to work with the federal security agencies that bear arms to help us respond. We are also using technology, procuring drones, working with the Air Force to do aerial surveillance of the forests where some of these people reside and keep their arms, and also tracking devices to track these calls they make, particularly when they kidnap. It's a problem. It requires investments. We are doing the best we can. But over the next 4 years, I believe that now that we understand quite a lot of how they operate and what is going on, we should be able to respond better.
Thank you so much, My Excellency. I will be going straight to our next panelist, and that is Professor Ista Utiti.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Your Excellency. And I'd like to congratulate the organizers of this meeting. I think they've done a very great job. I'm impressed. Well done. Also very impressed with the mega manifesto. However, I have two questions for Your Excellency. As an industrialist with operations in several G7 countries, I'm very interested in the governor's quest to make Edo State the economic hub of Nigeria. Your Excellency, what specific sectors are you targeting, and how do you intend to implement this loudly? So that's the first question. Second question, Can His Excellency please summarize his plans to prepare children, women, and youths in Edo State for future challenges and opportunities? Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Prof. Yes, in terms of specific sectors for industrialization, what we have done is to first get the core infrastructure required, which is electricity, and we will be one of the cheapest sources of electricity because we're generating. The fields are there, and as of today, our cost is quite globally competitive. We're hoping that we can drop our electricity cost to as low as 8 cents per kilowatt hour. Therefore, now that you have power, what are you going to do with it? For us, we want to focus on the areas of rapid growth, which is agriculture, food processing, agribusiness. Because one of the lessons of this COVID is that we were all locked down, we're all at home, but we all had to eat. And there's, so our food import bill in Nigeria is in excess of $20 billion a year. I mean, most of what we import, if not all, can be processed and produced locally. I mean, is it, is that staple food? Is it a confectionery? What is it? So we are focusing on agriculture and particularly industries that require agricultural inputs as their base materials. We are investing in the oil palm value chain. Don't forget that's what Malaysia did many years ago, left us behind. And so we are making quite a lot of land, the first phase available, about 100,000 hectares. We've got financing, we can have partners who are interested. We're enabling that to happen. And oil palm is the base product for cosmetics, for food, for edible fats. That is an area of priority. What about cassava? Cassava has a base stock for industrial starch, for ethanol. That is another area of priority. One transaction that we're hoping to close, which we have started on, is textiles. Yes, the federal government, under its cotton transformation program, is encouraging farmers all over the country to grow cotton. But you do not have modern textile mills, weaving, spinning, and yarning mills to produce textiles at a competitive rate like you do in Asia. So where we've been having conversations, we were almost at the closing point that we ran into a hitch, where a major textile company, one of the facilities, was going to relocate its production from China to Benin City, and was testing some of the cotton, the local cotton we had. So the areas will be the fast-moving consumer goods, food, clothes, garments, and also areas that will create huge job opportunity. How are we preparing for tomorrow? The key is education. We're very proud of what we have done with Edo Best, where our children, we're moving them from the schooling to learning. So a 6-year-old child in our Edo Best program today, after 2 terms in our program, can read. And and we found out that under Edo Best, these kids are now learning what they used to learn in 2 years in 1 term. So and it's simple because we can tell when our teachers are in school. We have trained our teachers, we've given them the technology so they can effectively monitor how the children are doing, whether they are learning, and if they are not, what the remedies there are. And we're doing this on a scale. We have 300,000 such children in our school systems today. And I can't wait for them to get to primary 6. And because I can assure you that by the time this generation graduates from the system we're putting in place, we will reduce drastically Agberos in our communities and our society. By the time Edo Best gets to its full steam, we will not produce Agberos again, because the people who will go through us who are going through the best educational system be able to be informed, be able to use technology at a young age. And don't forget, this is in our public school system. I want to escalate that to junior secondary, senior secondary. My goal is that by the time you finish your first 9 years of learning, you should be able to do something with your life. You should be able to have a vocation. Nothing says that you cannot continue, but by the time you're 14th, you're 15, you should be able to use your hands, you should be able to read manuals, you should be able to try things. Then you now decide whether to go to, do another 3 years in a secondary school or in a technical school or in a vocational school. And so we are laying the basis. We have the first 4 years has been experimental. We've seen how it will work, how it can work, and what to do. And so I am very hopeful, Prof, that the key is preparing the children at a very early age. If we did this 21 years ago, 1999, when we started our democracy, can you imagine where we'll be today?
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your very interesting, incisive, and very hopeful deposition. We're going to go over to members of the audience. But before we do that, Your Excellency, I have a question. Listening to you, there's so much hope. As a matter of fact, it's not just because you are talking right now. You are one governor that has come to Edo State to arouse the hope of the average Edo man. And
woman.
And yes, average Edo man and woman. That's very correct. And those all over the world are beginning to look at a brighter future. But when we juxtapose this to, what has, become the status quo, particularly with our first electionary process, a lot of people are afraid because what we have been used to as a people is that Nigerians and those have been made to believe that, the vote of the people don't count because at the end of the day, the people queue, spend time, vote. At the end of the day, what you hear is that some persons who are powerful have gone somewhere with INEC or whatever to go check results. And people are afraid that will happen at this time, particularly when we are beginning to see excessive use of financial power to back people over and all that. How do you and your team, and of course your government, intend to checkmate this so that for once we can be very sure that the will of the people is counting and Governor Obaseki is elected by the majority of Edo?
Well, I would say don't despair. The process has already started. By all of you taking your time off this evening where you could have been doing other things to come in and listen to me, it's because you're really interested and you're concerned and you can do something about it. We have the power to. Evil cannot dominate good. It's when good people don't speak up, when they don't stand for anything, that's what gives evil the force it has and allows evil to thrive. Let's also appreciate the fact that some reforms, it's not as bad as it's painted. Yes, it could be much better. But it is impossible, it's very difficult to rig an election where you're not popular. In your polling units, when if the majority of the people go into the polling units and vote for a particular candidate and stand there and wait for their votes to be counted and announced in their polling units, thanks to technology and thanks to the reforms being made by the electoral body, and you now move from your unit where you have enough people to move from your unit where you have voted and counted your votes to where the votes will be collated and wait for the announcement to be made there. It will be difficult, very difficult. And thanks also to the justice system. So I don't think we should despair. What we need to do is to speak up, send the message home, tell our people we cannot be confused, we cannot be cowed. We cannot be cowed anymore. Evil cannot dominate good. We've suffered enough. and this is the time for us to emancipate ourselves and free ourselves.
Thank you so much, Excellency. You've done an amazing job. We're going now to the audience, and I have seen Omoefi Sideberry. She has her hands up saying, our back room help, can you please locate her and get her home? Omoefi Sideberry.
She doesn't seem to be.
She's not here.
Not here.
No.
Is she not out? I saw her hand.
Omorefe Obaseki.
No, it was Omoefi Sideberry. I don't know if she logged out.
She probably logged out, yeah.
Until Michelle.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we take the next hand up?
Yeah.
Maybe we should take George Usara. Is it George Usara then? That's another hand raised.
Yep.
Yes.
Can we unmute George?
Yes, George. Son.
Yeah, unmuted.
Yes, George.